a podcast show. Do not be obsessed with your obsession. Believe it or not, this is just an entertainment. Creepy tale.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning with me, Mr. S, in Creepy Tale. It's 3 a.m. in the morning, so here we go. A story that I overheard from a colleague relating to one evening when I was in my poly days. A motorcyclist riding along a lonely and deserted stretch of the road in Lim Chu Kang, Chu Kang area on his way home from work late one evening. It was raining heavily, and through the rain, he noticed a long-haired woman standing alone in the dark at a bus stop. The woman started waving furiously when she saw approaching motorcyclists as if to ask for a ride. The motorcyclist slowed down and stopped at the bus stop, finding it strange that this young lady would be waiting for a bus in the middle of nowhere. Thinking to himself that the young lady shouldn't really be waiting for a bus all alone in a deserted and poorly lit bus stop, he offered her a lift on the motorcycle. And as it was raining, he offered her his raincoat as well. The lady nodded her head in agreement, put on the raincoat, and got on to the motorcycle. She told the rider that she was returning home to her village several miles ahead. While turning into a dimly lit lane of the main road as directed by the lady asked the motorcyclist to allow her to alight at the corner of the road. There were no more than a few lights in the distance, and not wanting to the lady think him impolite, the motorcyclist didn't answer any question. Riding off, the motorcyclist realized that the lady had his raincoat with her. He stopped his motorcycle and glanced backward, only to be greeted by the darkness behind him. He thought he would probably have a better chance looking for the lady the next morning on his way back to work, when it would be lighted, and since he was drenched anyway, continued on his way back home. Well, the next morning, when he returned to the same spot he had dropped off the lady, he could see anything except for the track which led to a clearing in the distance. Riding up the track, he came to a cluster of wooden houses in the clearing. He knocked on the first door, and the best as he could described the lady who had taken a ride from him to the elderly lady who opened the door. And she shook her head, and she said she didn't think anyone with that description lived in the village. Well, for the motorcyclist, he got a similar reaction from the occupants on the next few houses as well. He made his way to the last house and did the same. And this time, this old lady who answered the door seems to recognize the motorcyclist's description. "Yes," she said, "I think I know who you are looking for." She got out her house, closing the door behind her, and she said, "Please follow me, sir. I can show you where she stays." She crossed a drain and took a path through some trees and overgrown grass. Beyond the overgrown grass, the motorcyclist could see that there was a cemetery that lay ahead at that juncture. He then realized why no one seemed to know the lady. And his suspicion were confirmed where he spotted his brightly colored raincoat neatly draped over a gravestone. And on the gravestone were some Chinese inscription which he didn't understand. When he could understand was the photograph on the gravestone. It was that very lady he had given a ride to the previous evening. Well, believe it or not, this is creepy tale.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, please remember the stories that we share over here are just purely meant for entertainment purposes. Do not at any time take this seriously. And remember, always listen to Creepy
Thank you for listening to Creepy Tales. You'll be following Freddy in this Creepy Tales story. This story is about the unwelcome company. Back in 2008, my childhood friend and I went on a camping trip that was organized deep in the forested area of Malaysia. Initially, I was absolutely thrilled for the camp, knowing that we would finally be able to share the same tent without our parents. By seeing that I was having my time of the month, I was unquestionably dreading the trip. To me, and I'm sure a few others, being in the forested area while you're having your time of the month just isn't a good equity. We left Singapore in the late afternoon and reached the camping ground around midnight that same day. I was exhausted from the drive and having a back pain. All I wanted to do was to go to bed. Our camp advisor briefed us for a short while and sent us off to the registration area to collect our items and off to our tents straight after. Our sleeping quarters was located on top of the hill on the right side of the road. So we had to climb an extremely steep flight of stairs to get there, while the activity ground, canteen and registration area was towards the left side of the road. We reached our tent and slept peacefully for the first day. On the second day, that was when things started to get a little bit weird. I was feeling uneasy for most of the day, especially when I'm alone. Eventually, I passed it off as me being overly emotional, seeing that I was having the time of the month. Around 7 p.m., the sky started to get extremely dark, and my friend asked me to accompany her back to our tent to take something. Seeing that it was already dark, I wasn't about to ask her to go alone. So I went and accompanied her. As we were walking across the road and towards the staircase, that was when I felt it again. That uneasiness, and it was stronger this time round. I decided not to voice it out as I didn't want to scare my friend. She was walking in front of me and I was at the back, as the staircase only allowed enough for one person on each step. As we were climbing up the step, I felt a presence on my right side. My breathing started to get shallower, and I immediately knew that something was definitely wrong, and that we were being watched by who or what I didn't know. I kept my cool and kept my sight on the staircase. Slowly, my peripheral vision started to grow dark, and the right side of my body felt hot and left cold. I could feel someone breathing down on the right side of my face, like whoever it was is just a few centimeters away from my face. Out of the blue, my friend stopped and she turned around. She screamed.
Lil, there's something beside you. There's something beside you.
Right after she said that, immediately the feeling of being watched left me. And I turned and saw the plants moving slightly as if someone has just left the scene in a hurry. There was no wind at the moment, even to the debunk it, so I turned towards my friends and asked her to move and make her way inside our tent without saying anything else. Once we were inside the tent, she kept on repeating that she saw something while we were climbing the stairs. I tried to calm her, but what she said next sent chills down my bones.
Lil, there was something there. I saw it. It was huge, black, and perched on top of a rock. It has red glowing eyes and it was staring right at you.
I told her that. I knew. I felt it. But knowing that this is a forested area, I decided not to acknowledge its existence. Thank God, our tent mates showed up a few minutes later. We left our tent after taking what's needed for the next activity and went back to the activity ground. But as we were climbing down the staircase, I realized one thing. The rock that my friend was talking about wasn't there. It wasn't there at all. Thank you again for listening to Creepy Tales. If you have any stories, please email at creepytalestrioz@gmail.com. creepytalestrioz@gmail.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, please remember the stories that we share over here are just purely meant for entertainment purposes. Do not at any time take this seriously. And remember, always listen to Creepy
Thank you for listening to Creepy Tales. You are following Harry in this Creepy Tale story. This story is about the cemetery trip. This incident happened in 1994 when I was 17 years old. My friend and I consist of about 5 guys and 4 girls. Decided to pay a visit to Muslim cemetery. We were on an open pickup driven by one of my friends. Upon arrival at the cemetery at about 2300 hours, the place was very quiet with only the sound of cricket and a gusty wind filled in the air. The place was quite dark, but the moonlight was the only source of light we have as we had turned off the pickup headlight. We then started our little adventure. We were somewhere in the middle of the cemetery. We suddenly heard the sound of crow crowing. We were feeling eerie at that point of time when suddenly the crowing sound changed into the sound of baby crying. Upon looking around, I spotted that we were near to a children's grave. We then decided to leave the area and proceed to another location. As we're passing by a lane We then spotted a Malay grave with the earth in the center of the grave glowing in the red, looked like a volcano lava. We then heard a faint sound of humans screaming in pain. At that point of time, I say, it's enough. We then decided to leave the cemetery as we feel that we were disturbing the dead resting in peace. Thank you again for listening to a creepy tale. If you have any story, please email at creepytalestrioz@gmail.com. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Max, and around here, if you can see from the camera, we are in one location in Singapore, the southern part of Singapore to be exact. This is a common area which was made known to us by the creepy listeners, where there has been sightings that was found over here. But right now, I'm not going to tell you what you're going to see on the camera. Rather, I'll bring to you one of the tales that was given or shared to us by one of our listeners. So, stay tuned and keep listening to Creepy Tales. My secondary school friend used to live at Tanglin Halt near the Catholic Church and Hindu temple. There used to be a railway track from Tanjung Pagar railway station, and it will go through Bukit Merah, Tanglin Halt, Buona Vista Tunnel, Bukit Timah, and Woodlands Checkpoint, Johor Bahru. This is in Malaysia, and trains coming in from Malaysia would run to Tanjung Pagar and in the same direction. My friend's block and his kitchen window faces the railway track directly. He says it's very noisy at all times of the day, cause the trains will be passing by. There is a path to cross the tracks to the forested area opposite his block, and there are some colonial bungalows located there as well. But according to him, no one or not many people will live there. That area will be deathly quiet after dark, just like where we are right now. The thing is, he saw an old man once walking along the tracks one morning after going to the toilet and peered out of the window out of curiosity. An incoming train came in on its way to Tanjung Pagar, and the old man was gone after the train had passed. Feeling strange, he went back to the bed quickly. Well, obviously he shared the story with me when we met in school the next day. The son of his neighbor saw a lady in white, grinning from the corner of his eye, sitting in one of the trees opposite the track at night when returning from tuition. Pretending not to see anything, he went upstairs immediately. My friend's mom got up one morning during the 7th month to close the windows in her bedroom because it was starting to drizzle and it faces the railway track. So listeners, I just want to share with you, today is the 3rd day of the 7th calendar month of the lunar calendar from the Chinese. So this is a common practice or common belief by the Chinese that this is the month of the hungry ghost. Now you can look for more information about the 7th lunar month calendar which is practiced by the Chinese. Well, back to the story. She also saw an old woman with a boy walking away directly on the train tracks with their backs facing her. That railway track leads to an allegedly haunted tunnel under Buena Vista as well. Again, this is a story that was given to us by one of our creepy listeners. Whether it's true or not, it's up to you to believe. It's up to you to think what is real and what is not. But what we are doing over here is just to share to you a story. Mystery or scary, believe it or not, this is Creepy Tales.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in Creepy Tales. Well, if you have creepy stories to share, you could email us at creepytalestrioz@gmail.com. That's creepytalestrioz@gmail.com.